Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Star Trek Discoverage, the live podcast that boldly goes into excruciating detail about this week's episode of Star Trek Discovery. I'm your host, Aaron Coker, aka Caliban, and just a tip, in case you're ever sucked 1,000 years into the future and all your skills become useless, start boning up on humpback whale knowledge. Joining me on the show, as usual, is my co-host. She's also the co-host of the Generations Geek podcast, a more or less family-friendly celebration of geekdom. It's Ella Pearson. Ella, welcome back to Discoverage. Ella, here we are. Once again, in the 15th week of 23 weeks of Trek. And I need your opinion, Ella. I need to know how you think it's going so far.
I mean, I think it's going good. There are moments, not to get too deep right off here at the start, there are moments that I do feel are fan servicey. But
well, yes. That's the brand, yes.
I think it's going quite well. I'm very pleased. Yep.
I am fairly pleased myself. Let's see how our other guest feels. She is the co-host of the Just Enough Trope podcast, as well as the Sailor Noob podcast, both shows here on the Just Enough Trope network. It is Mika and Hana back on the show. Mika, welcome back to Discoverage.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I'm not going to ask you what's going on the Just Enough Trope show. I'm going to ask you instead what's going on on your other shows. What's going on in the network?
Yeah, so we've been busy with Co-Videos, which is a show that we've started during the pandemic and has continued during the course of the pandemic. And we just, I have a list of movies that I haven't seen, and you also have a list of movies that you haven't seen, although some are our favorites, And we select a movie from each of our lists each week, and then we just talk about it. It's a lot of fun. This last week, we talked about my film that I had not seen before was The Crow, and then your pick was something that is one of your favorites because we needed a little ray of sunshine. And that's Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
After The Crow, I needed something to pick me back up.
Yeah, exactly.
After 30 hours of pain and suffering. Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, those are good picks. Those are sort of like fun picks. But we do talk about movies more classic in nature. And
we do.
As a show, it was sort of like, hey, let's do this fun thing while we're inside. It won't go very long because we've got to get back outside. And then, oh, no, we did a show for a year, so let's make it into like a real thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then Sailor Noob is doing well. We are now talking about Sailor Moon R, which is the second season of Sailor Moon. And yeah, it's different bad guys, but and some different aspects to the show, but we're having fun with it and talking about all sorts of different things culturally. This last week on the show, our show that just came out, we talked about VR in Japan, so.
Yeah, but not cool Oculus Rift VR, like the big plastic, bright red helmet that you put on and then you flail around, like you're the lawnmower man or something like that.
We talked about cool stuff too that uses the newer technology, but yeah, we talked about some of the more clunky stuff as well.
Shooting pterodactyls and stuff like that.
Yes, exactly.
Old school. Old time VR. Old time VR.
And then the Virtual Boy, right? Game Boy.
God. Yes.
Stab VR, which did not go very well.
The Virtual Boy, the thing that you play, and in your 2020 goes 2021, 22, 23, 24. Every second you play, you get more and more blind. Yeah. Well, technology's come a long way in our time and, of course, in Star Trek as well, and we'll talk about that. right now, actually, because there's no real news to talk about. We'll just jump right into the show. We're talking about the 5th episode of Star Trek Discovery, Season 3, an episode called Die Trying. We're here to break it down for you, and we've got a lot to talk about tonight. Before we start, as always, we're setting a course for the spoiler zone listeners, so be warned, we're glad you decided to join us, but if you haven't seen the episode, spoilers are incoming right now. The official synopsis for Die Trying is, after reuniting with what remains of Starfleet and the Federation, the USS Discovery and its crew must prove that a 930-year-old crew and starship are exactly what this new future needs. That sounds like a pitch for a season of the show. This episode was written by the teleplay was written by Sean Cochran, who has worked as a staff writer on the show. He's also written several episodes like Despite Yourself, New Eden, and of course Die Trying. And he wrote the story with James Duff. Duff wrote the Star Trek Enterprise first season episode, Fortunate Son. He also wrote co-wrote the teleplay for the Star Trek Picard episodes Remembrance and The End is the Beginning. This episode was just directed by Maya Virillo, who is basically a roster director for Discovery. We've talked about before, has directed episodes like Perpetual Infinity, and also directed the short trek Runaway and the Star Trek Picard episodes Impossible Box and Broken Pieces. The start date for this episode is, get used to these long dates, 8:02-8:01. I can hear you messing with your headset, Mikan Hana.
Sorry.
Guilty as charged, to quote Dewey Cox. Here are some facts from our memory banks about this episode. Erroneously, a little correction from last week, David Ayala does not appear in this episode, and he wasn't even credited, so I don't know what I was thinking. This is also the first episode of the series in which Michael Burnham takes command of the Discovery. She finally got there, and she finally gets to give the Black Alert jump command. There's a couple guest stars from this episode we should talk about. Oded Fehr appears as Admiral Charles Vance. Fehr is probably best known for playing Ardeth Bay in The Mummy and The Mummy Returns. He's also appeared in the Resident Evil movies and in Deuce Bigalow, as well as many TV appearances on shows like Covert Affairs and NCIS. Strangely, as he does everything, David Cronenberg appears on the episode as Kovich. David Cronenberg probably wants to be remembered as the writer and director of cult sci-fi classics like The Fly, Videodrome, Dead Ringers, and Existence, as well as critically praised dramas like A History of Violence and Eastern Promises. But yes, he also sometimes appears in his own films and other productions. He's had guest roles on Alias and also the new, I think, Mika, you've watched this, Alias Grace.
Yes.
The miniseries.
Playing Alias Grace.
Old guy, I guess, with or without glasses. But I think it's funny that he was on Alias and Alias Grace. So he's like, hey, just send me whatever you got. If it's got Alias on it, that's fine.
Yeah, right. If it's got Alias, put me in it.
He was going to be on the Jessica Jones show, but they changed the name from Alias Jessica Jones to just Jessica Jones. And he's also appeared in films such as Jason X, Extreme Measures, and To Die For. Brendan Beiser plays Eli, the EMH. He is the bow tie wearing EMH that we see at certain points in the episode. He's a Canadian actor with many TV roles to his name, and he might be most famous for his role as Agent Pendrell on The X-Files. He also appeared as Mr. Latlin, I believe, in the Canadian series Degrassi, The Next Generation, and as Jeff recently on Amazon's The Boys. Jake Epstein appears as Dr. Addis, who runs the Seed Vault. Epstein is also a Canadian actor who also appeared on Degrassi, The Next Generation, as Craig Manning, a role that he reprised on the recent Degrassi reboot, Next Class. He's had recurring roles on the series Designated Survivor and Suits, and he appeared in Drake's video for I'm Upset, which reunited the casts of Degrassi, but no Brendan Beiser in that one, strangely.
Huh.
Did you see that video?
No. I probably should watch it.
Ella, are you on?
I'm here.
Okay. Ella, did you see that Degrassi Drake video? Did you get it? Have you seen Degrassi?
I've seen nothing that we've talked about. That's why I've been silent. I haven't seen Alias.
Not even Degrassi
but I'm here
Next
ready.
Class?
No, not even.
All right, that's enough Degrassi talk. Vanessa Jackson appears as Lieutenant Willa. Jackson's career is just getting started, but she played a shuttle pilot rescued by the X-Men in the beginning of X-Men Dark Phoenix, and also played an FBI agent in an episode of DC Universe's Titans. So, new actor. And I want to take a minute to shout out two actors who have appeared often on Discovery, but who maybe don't get the credit that they deserve because they play heavily made-up aliens. David Benjamin Tomlinson has appeared as Linus the Saurian for all of Linus's appearances on the show. He's also played various other alien roles in the series. And Hava Blackwell appears as an Osnolus science officer when we see the flyhead on the bridge of the Discovery. She also played an Osnolus trader in the That Hope Is You when they go to the trading planet in that one. Before we get to the sort of the recap and review of the episode, let's touch on our theories for right now. I got a hot theory that I want to run by everybody, but first, it's going to blow everything out. So first, do you guys have any theories that you want to talk about?
Oh, I was not prepared. I
don't think I do either, if that makes you feel better. I feel like at least this episode, I was really just along for the ride. I felt very entranced. I don't think I wasn't thinking very far ahead.
Well, I guess I'll just get to my theory then. I think that they are getting ready to move Michael Burnham off the show.
What?
That's my crackpot theory. This show, this whole series has been her for this long. And, for the first 4 episodes, we had this whole, Michael, maybe she doesn't belong here. Maybe she's got another destiny. Maybe she is too restrained by Starfleet. That gets tamped in for this episode as they sort of return to Starfleet proper, and they are having to observe proper protocol and stuff like that. And she sort of, swallows her pride and bites back, what she wants to do. Hey, let's just, take the ship and just go figure this out. They can't stop us. But I think we've got a lot of episodes left. And I also think that Sonequa Martin Green is, I think she's bigger than this show. I think that she could do like her own show. I think that she could do something else in the Star Trek universe, or she could go off and do movies. I mean, once Space Jam 2, A New Legacy comes out, who knows how high her stock is going to go. And maybe she doesn't want to do this forever.
I mean, I see what you're saying. I guess I'd be a little surprised if that came into play so soon.
Well, we're 3 years in.
Surprised.
I know we're 3 years in, but I just would be it would shock me. I'm a little shocked right now.
How long was she on The Walking Dead before she left that?
That's a good question. No idea.
What, like at least 4 or 5 seasons, right? I feel like she was on there for a long time.
Yeah.
And then she left once. We already knew that she was going to be on Star Trek because I remember, spoilers. I remember watching her last episode on The Walking Dead, and I was like, I know that she's leaving because she's going to be on Star Trek.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I don't know. Also, honestly, I feel like, I mean, you've been right many times before, but the movie scene post-COVID is a little iffy.
It's true.
You know what I mean? Like, if I were her, I would stick in television.
There wasn't a lot of filming done this year, but everybody, A, is optimistic, and B, has to make deals, or, they'll die. Like, we've got to figure something out as far as the movie business goes. Mm-hmm. And so they're still cutting deals, and they're still making things. But, I don't know. It's just a thought I had, because otherwise I can't figure out what they're trying to do with her this year. I feel like we've tamed that part of her. We're in this mess because she thought that she knew better than the captain, and we're coming up and we're doing that again. And I'm not sure either that, or we're definitely going to lose Saru and she's going to have to step in as captain. But I wonder why.
I think that Saru kind of put her in her place, and she listened. You know what I mean? She's doing the right things as far as following orders so far.
Yeah.
Like,
She's like, if my arms were longer, I could reach up and Vulcan nerve pinch him, no problem.
Probably.
So anyway, it's just like I just want to plant that, it could, maybe it'll grow, maybe it won't, we don't know, but I wanted to log that in. I've got another quick theory from the internet, so I don't take credit for this one, but it might not actually be a theory, it might be what they were suggesting, but, we see a Voyager in this episode, and we don't see a lot of it, but it seems like the saucer, or at least the forward section, is very similar to the Voyager we know. So there's a theory on the internet.
It sure does.
Based on the way they say, like, an evolution of the ship and not like a replacement, that this is the original Voyager. It's just been upgraded like 11 times.
And what do you think that would mean for Discovery? The show Discovery, not the ship Discovery.
I don't know. The second part of the theory is that nobody knows exactly when Star Trek Prodigy is going to take place. And so if they are seeding Voyager into the 32nd century, maybe it'll be a 32nd century show. And we'll have a hologram or something, or a time-displaced little Katie Janeway, just like we talked about on a previous show.
Can you imagine? Oh, my God.
Kid Janeway, yeah.
I would lose it with Kid Janeway drinking her coffee.
Ugh.
I would live.
This is terrible.
That'd be fantastic.
I like dark roast. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, just kicking things around.
I mean, I think what you said, though, about just going back to your first theory about Sonequa Martin Green being bigger than the show, I think that's true.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I definitely could. I just think that her being off of the show, like within by the end of the season or something like that, I feel like that's too soon, or maybe not going to happen. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I just feel like she's going to stick around a little bit longer than that. But
yeah,
but yeah, she definitely is. I mean, she's a huge presence in this show, and it just wouldn't be the same show without her. So
it really wouldn't. Well, and she just lit up the screen on The Walking Dead. I would dare to say that The Walking Dead took more advantage of her talents than Disco has so far. But obviously she's so amazing in Disco as well. I don't know.
There's certainly no reticence from the creators of these shows to kind of cross-pollinate, so to speak, considering the subject matter, and seed other things. And so I can't imagine that it's a coincidence that we are digging more into Georgiou and giving her a little side thing. And it makes me wonder if David Cronenberg will be on the Section 31 show.
Oh.
Didn't you get, don't you think that he is...
Yeah. That was the old...
He's future...
Wait, I'm so sorry. Should I know? That's the old guy with the glasses?
Yeah, that's the old guy with the glasses.
100% he is going to be on that show.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed too because I do have a confession to make. I didn't know what he looked like, so I did not know
that
was.
Why would he's not an actor? Why would you know? Say hello to the old flesh. Yeah, it's like, why would you know what he looks like? He's not supposed to be in front of the camera. But he likes to be in the movies, so let him do it.
He's got a very distinct look about him, though.
Yeah, well, he looks like they let the air out of Karl Lagerfeld a little bit. Wow, you guys get that. Great. All right. Hey, I'm batting 1,000. All right. Let's talk more about the body of the show, Die Trying. What'd you guys think of Die Trying? Guest Mikan Hana, give us what you thought.
I don't know what I was expecting. But we heard all this talk at the beginning of the season, like, oh, you're from the Federation, they don't really exist anymore, and then here they are, and yeah, okay, they're keeping pretty much to themselves, but I guess what I was envisioning at the beginning of the season was basically Discovery having to and which is not what they did, and that's fine. But basically, Discovery having to traverse across the present universe that they're in to try to find the pieces of the Federation and try to bring everybody back together.
There are 6 pieces of the Federation,
well,
and we must find them all.
And we will unite them because that's what we do. And that's not what happened. And that's fine. It's just I wasn't expecting to find a well-oiled machine already in progress or process, and I get like the mistrust and everything, but it seems like they could have like logged onto their computers and gotten all the information that they needed to know, and then it's like, well, time travel is a crime. Well, if it is a crime, then why is it okay by the end of the episode? I don't know. But I guess I liked the adventure onto the seed ship. Probably the most out of the entire episode.
Yeah. Let's like a seed. We'll put a cotyledon around that, and we'll save that for later. This is exactly how I expected it to go from the very beginning. Like since they first announced like what the premise was, even down to I didn't know that Sugar was going to give a speech about the Renaissance, but I always thought that that's what this was going to be. Right? They were going to be the spark that reignites the fire of the Federation, right? They get to the Federation, the uniforms are gray, the guy's gray, everything's gray. They're depressed about it. They're playing defense, and these guys are going to come in and go, we got basically like a Victrola for a ship compared to you guys' stuff, but we're your mascot now. We're going to remind you. It's like bringing George Washington to the future, and he goes, "Oh my God!" But also he would be inspiring, to Americans once he figured out what a TV was. That's sort of like
once he figured out how not to be racist, he'd be like, "All right, here we go."
Yes, he's like, yeah, right. So that's always what was on sale, right? Ella, what did you think? How'd you think that the episode sort of fit or didn't fit into that?
I guess I also kind of thought that it would be a little bit more based around Disco, kind of linking bits of the the Federation gauntlet together, but I think I was more satisfied with them arriving to this place that isn't necessarily welcoming, because it's like, you've been gone for hundreds and hundreds of years. Why would they not be a little suspicious, and why would they not want to ask you a bunch of questions, and why would they immediately trust you to carry out an important mission?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all true.
Yeah.
That's it bothered me at first. But by the end, I thought, I think it does kind of make sense that they want to split the crew up, and they want to tear the ship down for parts or whatever, or to study it, and that all makes sense. Something that we've always had on Star Trek is that we get these casts together, and TV casts have contracts, so they're not going to die and they're not going to get transferred. But that's not how the military works. People transfer all the time, and you serve very short times with people. And they take off and go other places because they're needed other places. And I think this is the first time in Star Trek that it actually makes sense, because the Admiral's probably relieved at the end. He's like, oh, great, we don't have to give 1,000 years of education to these idiots. They can all stay together. They're the wackiest ship in the Army. They've got their own way to do things. And so maybe they'll be useful in that capacity. I think that makes a lot of sense. Although if they had the budget... If they have the budget and the time, I'd love to see them all, scattered to other ships and different jobs, and have at least one episode where we get to see them, hating their new job. Stamets.
Yeah.
Stamets is serving mashed potatoes or something like that in the commissary, and with a hairnet, and they all just hate what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like if I was Admiral Salt and Pepper, what's his
yeah.
what's his name?
Yeah.
I don't remember what his name is.
My initial reaction would not be to separate the crew that is clearly bound together because they chose to jump into the future with each other. Like, I feel like there's like this, like, they have like a trauma bond that I would not really want to mess with separating, breaking.
Yeah.
Like, I would not, my first reaction would not be like, well, this is Starfleet, so you will all be reassigned. I'd be like, let's keep you guys together for a little while at least.
It's interesting because it makes me wonder, like, I'm not a historian, but I like history, and we think about all these. We have to sort of imagine what happened at these great battles. We have to imagine what it felt like to be George Washington, for instance, crossing the Delaware. And, we can only imagine then. But once you invent video and digital storage, you never have to imagine anything ever again. So sure, there's a displacement where Admiral Salt and Pepper push it, like, he has to, like, go, well, great. These 1,000-year-old people show these 1,000-year-old people show up. We got our own problems. Like, you guys don't have any problems at all. You're dead, basically. But they could just literally show him like a 3D hologram of the gigantic battle and fighting Control and like the Red Angel doing all this stuff, and it would be like, oh, I guess that was kind of important, huh? Or show him take a little bit of the sphere data, and he's just like, oh my god, this data is incredible. Like, where'd you get this? But instead, yeah, you're right. It's just like, who are these guys? I felt like we could have found a new evolution of the two things I'm describing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, there has to be so many things that they could just be like, look at this. It's just like, this is the sphere. Like, they could, like, do they know yet that the sphere data is basically
I don't know what we're doing.
Informed with their computer or whatever?
I don't know if anybody knows. That's just that.
Okay.
Sometimes in like, I've done a lot of like game mastering for role-playing games, and sometimes you get a thing that maybe that you mention to the players, or maybe they figure out on their own, and it becomes this like side thing where suddenly they just know and they have this, we could always do the thing, and it's the game master, you're like, you guys are assuming that that's a thing. I never told you that that's a thing. And so maybe I've got to go and like write up something so if they do the thing, they'll have a thing. And that's how I feel about the sphere data. Like it was introduced so abruptly and then kind of solved kind of abruptly, or at least put away, and then they would solve it later. But so, yeah, I mean, I think that's still a factor. When you said like they've got so many things they could show them, I thought you meant like they pick up a chair and like throw it down on the ground. See, it's just a chair. It doesn't turn into anything else. We're really from the past.
Their chairs have actual legs.
Yeah, our chair seat doesn't float.
It stands on the floor.
Yeah, you can tip it over. I liked what you said about the Federation and collecting things, both of you, and specifically Ella, about the idea that they would have to be hooking things up. Maybe that's still going to be a thing, but I don't think that, like, in this post-burn world, we don't really know how propulsion works and what they do, but we do know that, it's a little Easter egg, but it's telling. When they first come in, we see on a display that they've got a connection to the Kazon clan sphere or something like that. And so they're in contact with the Delta Quadrant. Like, presumably the Federation is galactic at this point. Like, they have gone all over the place. So unless maybe they're cut off from those places, but they've definitely expanded throughout the entire galaxy, it seems like. Or they're just using those old satellites that Voyager used in its last season to contact the Kazon for some reason. Hey, you guys are still out there? You still suck. Okay, love you too.
Well, it seems like a lot of different planets. I know they travel in time 1,000 years, so sure. Obviously, I guess, like, have joined the Federation who weren't part of it.
Yeah, Kaminar's joined. Yeah, Barzan's joined. It seems like the Kazon have joined. Yeah. Although they're down, well, at some point now they're down to 38 worlds.
Right. So a lot have joined that weren't previously a part of it, but what happened to all the other worlds? Like, are they still out there, or did they just leave the Federation, or what?
Well, we saw, an example with Earth where they're like, yeah, they can't protect us anymore. So what I want to know is if Earth has left the Federation. I mean, it seems like Admiral Salt and Pepper is like a human, right? So there's still humans. There's still humans serving in the Federation, but Earth as a world has withdrawn.
I feel like there's probably a lot of worlds that like after the burn they either assumed because of the burn that they would not hear from Starfleet for a long time, or that it like Starfleet itself had, disintegrated, or they're like, Starfleet left us. We haven't heard from them in however many years. Who knows?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that they talked about the distance between worlds being a problem. So it's like, well, we should see a ton of Andorians, Telarians, and where are the Vulcans? Like, we should see the member worlds, the founding member worlds, since they're close together from a galactic perspective. I wonder where the Vulcans are.
That
was my question.
I mean,
yeah, they seem really absent.
I was waiting for Salt and Pepper to say something about them.
Yeah. Well, that's clearly a mystery that I guess we're going to find out later. What else? Well, they're dropping another thing. Now we've got the Emerald Chain. They keep sort of coyly mentioning in the episode. What do you guys think the Emerald Chain is?
Is it not the earrings that I just ordered from a lesbian on Etsy?
It could be. I'm not ruling that out.
I'm glad you laughed because I did just order some earrings from like a friend of a friend that are like jade chains.
Okay,
but the
cool.
joke landed. I'm happy. Anyways.
Yeah.
They sound awesome, Ella. I'm imagining them right now. And I think that is what they were talking about. They're like, well, there is this big Trek fan out there named Ella, and
that's why Jet didn't know what it was.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because Jet doesn't wear earrings. You're an engineer. You don't want to get jewelry caught in machinery and stuff. So she's like, I don't know what that is. The Romulans like green.
They do.
All their stuff's green. Well, their ships and stuff. So maybe that's what the Emerald Chain is. I'm just trying to figure it out.
Are they trying to?
Did she say it was the? She said it was like the. I'm not gonna get the right, like aliens. I thought she said it was like the Andorian Orion Alliance. Like, didn't she say something like that? Wasn't it? Am I thinking a different thing?
Oh, if she did, I totally missed that.
I think maybe you're right.
I thought that Jet was like eating her chips and salsa, and she was like, I don't know what that is, and she was like the Andorian Orion Alliance.
Oh.
I don't think those are the right aliens, but I thought she said something like that.
Okay, that's possible. I was watching her eat her chips, so.
I mean, me too. God.
As I said before, like the closed captioning doesn't work on my PS4 for CBS All Access for some reason. So, yeah, okay. So it's Andorians and Orions working together. That was probably mentioned in That Hope Is You?
Well, should I double check?
Well, you check on that.
Confident.
I believe you. Let's let this seed grow. Let's talk about the seed vault ship.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do you guys notice? I know that like previous Star Trek shows have used scientific concepts and things, to spur like storytelling and plot sometimes. But like, I always feel like Discovery does it so ham-handedly. Like there's nothing going on, and somebody's like, coronal ejection, or CME, a seed vault. Elon Musk, everybody.
It does seem to happen a lot.
A seed vault is certainly a thing, that we've got on our planet, and has been in the news recently because they made a millennial seed vault and then it leaked and a lot of the seeds got ruined. But yeah.
No.
Yeah, I was in like Iceland. Well, global warming, like climate change melted a glacier and it hurt the seed vault. So make it waterproof. But that, the idea of a coronal mass ejection, it's like I enjoy the real science, but we're in the 32nd century. Like, where's the fake science?
don't know.
I was right. Sorry, I was right. It's Andorians and Orions.
She's back.
Did I cut out?
No. My problem, I guess, with that scene where it's Tilly and Stamets and Tignataro like figuring out what happened. It's like it's like it could have just been one character saying all of those lines. Like, I know that they're all like engineers and that they all have like knowledge in this area, but I just feel like they could have written it better so it's not like they were finishing each other's sandwiches. Yeah.
Nah, beat you to it. Yeah, but but the point was to show Lieutenant Lemonface that like we have our own, we've got our own
team
we've got our own thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose.
Although whether she'd be convinced by that, I have no idea. But it worked.
Well, she said she was convinced, so she's convinced.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, they don't have to use they can use actual science and they can use like made up science because it is science fiction and we'll we will believe it. So just make it believable within the world of the show, and we're good.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Your ship runs on like a magic mushroom network. So we're in at this point.
Yes.
We're running out of time. We gotta move on. Any other thoughts about the Seed Vault or about Dr. Forehead, who runs the Seed Vault, and his family? That whole storyline.
The ship was really cool. It looked really cool.
Yeah.
I was really excited when that first started that that Culver and Nan were with Michael, because I feel like we haven't really seen that before. I feel like we haven't really seen the Doctor on an away mission that much.
I was worried for Culver because worried for Culver the last time those two got together. The third didn't work out too well.
Yeah,
but yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
When Michael was like, "Why don't you get behind us?" I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
King,
right.
Girl, you want to take a step back."
I thought that was cool. I kind of wanted to learn more about all their culture, though. Like, they are kind of telling us a little bit, but she was like, well, we view death differently, but they didn't really elaborate on how.
Well, I missed the Emerald Chain thing, so maybe they did say something and I wasn't paying attention, but it did.
Because she said that, and then I got a little bit huffy because I was like, in any other Star Trek episode, she would have elaborated. It would have been a whole 90-second thing, and there would have been a joke at the end, and then we would move on. Like, I wanted to know.
Well,
yeah.
It was enticing because we don't, this is a race that we saw in that one episode. Yeah. And so
right.
There kept being like the one thing where she says, that's the Barzan way, diligence and poverty. And I was like, oh my God, I'm Barzan. I didn't know that. I'm poor and I'll never stop working on the things I like working on. There kept being, especially for like her wrap up episode. I mean, I assume she'll, show up to help at the end in the finale or something like that. But it seems like Nan is off the show.
It does. It definitely does. And I don't understand it. It's very sudden. And like, like her name was in the credits this season. So I really don't understand. I didn't understand why they hugged, because I don't really think that those characters are very close. I mean, I know that everybody on Discovery has been through a lot, but I don't know. Maybe we're just supposed to believe that everybody on the ship is best friends, but but that was I know it was a sad moment. Like she's leaving. It's very sudden, and then like she just watched his Discovery like jump away. So
which leaves in like 15 seconds. It's like I need my clothes. Black alert, they're gone. Yeah. It's I don't know. I have to imagine that she's going to come back. I think that she, Michael feels all the emotions, and I think that she felt, the sort of pain that Nan felt about, just having missed, maybe making the wrong decision. Maybe she had no choice, but like missing her homeworld and her planet. What I think is funny is that clearly Michael, I can't remember what the term for it is, but like Michael has picked her unit. She's picked her pack, and it's like the crew of the Discovery, because she always says in like the same episode, she was like, we're a family, we are Starfleet and we have to stay together. And then the head of Starfleet starts telling her stuff, and she's like, this guy's not shit. Like we can go out and get the thing. And it's like, you're back with the family now. This is the patriarch of the family. She's like, I forget this guy. It doesn't matter. So she's picked her unit, and it is, Saru, Stamets, and Nan, and Tilly, and everybody else. And I understand that, what they've been through.
Saru,
Definitely true.
When they were talking and Saru was like, get your hands on, I was like,
That was great.
It's like she forgot where she was for a minute,
Yeah, we're going to get in there and steal it.
She was like, if we can just steal this thing.
Yeah.
I'm, you know what? Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Doug Jones.
Hopefully, it doesn't end with a war with the Klingons.
Yeah, well, Doug Jones showed restraint. Doug Jones showed restraint in not putting a huge hand, up to his throat, like, get your hands on? I don't think so. What else? Nan off the show. It looks like I still think that we are. You just saw the backdoor pilot for the Section 31 show. I think that they are definitely setting something up there that will continue into her thing. I think it would be interesting to. We've already seen this in Star Trek with the idea of Daniels, kind of giving Archer orders in the Temporal Cold War, which is brought back into canon, or at least confirmed in canon with this episode, which I think is cool. And I could see like Cronenberg or a Cronenberg-like figure, and I don't mean that the way I mean like a guy like David Cronenberg, not like a bleh, like monster thing, giving Giorgio orders like from the future, like the future trying to reorganize the past to maybe help them out, in the future, using Section 31 or a rebuilt Section 31 in the 23rd century to do that.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. Do you think that how are they going to try to build the Federation up to what it was before, do you think?
Just in the show, or in my crazy theory about Cronenberg puppeting Giorgio in the past?
Both.
I don't really know. I mean, I think we all... I don't want to sidetrack on this too much, because we'll be talking about this for Discoverage when Section 31 comes out. But, like, nobody really knows what a Section 31 show would be yet. We don't know if it'll be examining, the underbelly, the dark side of Starfleet, or if it'll be just a kind of a more spy, non-ship focused type thing, adventure type thing.
Can you, if it's like a spy show, I will lose it. I'll be so excited.
I hope it will be. Yeah.
Yeah, like the Julian Bashir, but just in the 23rd century. That could be great.
Yeah, except with
Garrick,
who's ruthless.
Garrick.
Yeah, Garrick, right? Yeah. Well, it'd be.
Bring them back somehow.
It'd be like maybe.
Dude, get McCormick on the phone right now, right this second. Get
sure.
On Skype.
Yeah, I don't know how they.
It's 2 a.m. in England.
It'd have to be. Well, it'd have to be like a young and Aberantane or something like that. You cast somebody. You cast a young Paul Dooley and have him sort of getting the reins of the spy thing together.
That would be really neat.
That'd be a good show.
I would be interested in watching that.
Yeah. Holy cow.
Oh,
that or I do think that they should get Andy Robinson to play like old Garrick, and then he's just,
the way I would sob.
Do it like
Seriously.
if you guys remember, I don't know if anybody remembers the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, where yes, do that with like, and instead of old Indy, it's old Garrick, and it's just a series of like bars and spas and like massage parlors, and he's just like, then there was the time that and then we just go back and we go to like a recast Garrick, a young Garrick story where he's doing something or other.
God.
We give millions of dollars away on this show every Thursday. So,
dude, stop talking.
Get some of it on you.
CBS.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
Trademark, enterprising individuals, 2020.
I did highlight at the end of the episode where Saru is explaining the example of the Dark Ages and the Renaissance emerging. I thought that was great, but as a Kelpian to a human, it's like, did you just Kelpian explain the Dark Ages to me? Excuse me, this is my people's. You guys were picking seaweed 20 years ago. Come on.
But he's like, please. But they joined the Federation. How sweet was that?
Yeah, they
moment?
did. Yeah, I think that's and Saru's reaction was subdued, but really nice.
I mean, Doug Jones is still, remains so talented underneath all of that plastic silicone.
I wanted to mention one thing really quick, and then we'll shut it down. I know a lot of podcasts that I listen to that talk about Discovery have been talking about the idea of exploring trauma in this season, focusing a lot, of course, on the pilot, whose my head trauma keeps me from knowing the name. Who's the pilot?
Detmer.
That's it. I knew. And exploring it through her. And it seemed like we'd reached kind of a plateau last week, but it came back a little bit this week. And I wonder if there will be, a melodramatic TV series sort of climax to this, or if it'll just be something, maybe the message will be more about living through trauma and sort of experiencing it every day or in little bursts and having to sort of just live with it and kind of conquer it instead of her flipping out and, stealing a shuttlecraft or like it would be on TNG.
Huh. Well, I feel kind of bad because I feel like every other week I've been like, something's wrong with her. Something's up with her. Detmer. I'm suspicious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then this week I was like, is it just PTSD? Am I being overly paranoid?
Maybe it's a woman who survived.
I thought was amazing of that went slightly literally.
Yeah. She's just somebody who survived a war with the Klingons and went to the mirror universe and and has been thrown into the future all in like probably about 6 months. So, and then whacked her head really hard after whacking her head really hard before.
Could just be the mental illness, love, but I did feel bad this week because I was like, I feel like I've been being like, something's wrong with Detmer, and then this week I was like, maybe it's just the PTSD with that almost slow motion shot of her hands just flexing. I was like, you just aren't feeling well.
Yeah, something's wrong with her. She can't write a poem.
I know, I felt so bad. I was like, oh no.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I think they're trying to telegraph that something is not quite right with her, but it's just little snippets each week, right? So that's, I think, the challenging part about it. Like they're not really showing us any like more. So right, like is it like PTSD? Is it her just dealing with trauma a little bit every day? Like, or is she going to flip out?
No. Okay. I want to make sure that my opinion is clear, because it's my show. What I'm saying is that I hope that they're, I guess, addressing this idea, which I think is a good thing to look at in a character who's, in military or war all the time, in snippets, because if this was TNG, first of all, this probably wouldn't be one of the main characters. This would be a boy whose parents were killed and now he, thinks he's an android and he's following Data around, or it'd be something like that. And that character, or a kid who's a screw up and he steals a shuttlecraft, and he wants to blow up or kill himself because he doesn't think he has a future. Or if it was one of our main characters, they would be psychically affected by something, or their dad comes on board or something like that. It would be a one episode thing. And because Discovery is more of a long movie, it's more we're living with these characters. We can't just, I was a little disappointed last week when she went and talked to Culber and went, I got problems. And I thought, oh, that's it. Like, we're done with it. And we're not done with it. And I think that's good, because I think that it gives them a chance to, I say land, again, I don't think they need to find a climax for this, but it gives them a chance to play this out more in her character and see, a more realistic depiction of this rather than just, oh, we fixed it and now it's, it won't be here next week.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to make this comparison, but what it brings up for me is like Iron Man 3 when he...
Oh, yeah.
Tony Stark, who's been through so much, he has a panic attack and he's like, what's happening? And she's like, you have anxiety. And he's like, me? No, never. But it's like, yeah, dude, you've been through a lot. Huh. And so, yeah, I hope that it is that, that I mean, not that I want Detmer's character to suffer in that way, but the representation, like you said, of like the anxiety or the PTSD or just dealing with the trauma, I think it would be like fantastic and really important. Especially, I think it's so interesting watching Owo kind of reach out and Detmer push her away a little bit every time. I think is so realistic.
I like that too. And I think it serves it. I would really like to see more from all of our bridge characters. Once again, we get another week where Owo and everybody gets a line and then we just cut to Bryce and Reese and they're like, yeah, we're happy. Like they don't get to say anything. But what?
No lines.
It doesn't matter. But because they're side characters, it reminds me a lot of TOS, where sometimes you get Joe Tormelin or some navigator that we haven't seen before, and they would be the center of that story, and then you would see Sulu watch them freak out and be like, "Are you okay? Come on, hey, you got to set the thing here," and we'd see little snippets of it instead of Troy's going nuts.
I'm sorry, that was kind of a solid impression.
Oh well, let's not get into that, but. But yeah, but it doesn't have to be the whole show. It can be a nice little runner that we can keep revisiting, and I think they're so far they're doing a good job with that.
I think so too.
This is it. Shuttlecraft doors going up.
Oh, I wanted to mention something.
I knew
really
there was
quick.
something else.
So I heard about this on a Trek group that I'm a part of on Facebook, and I looked it up, and sure enough, I totally missed this. But did you guys notice that in the shipyard, there's a ship called the USS Nog?
No.
No.
Yes.
Aww.
And it's so according to Kurtzman, the ship was named, of course, after Nog. And it is, according to him, an Eisenberg-class vessel.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So
that's
anyways.
so sweet.
Yeah.
Hauling self-stealing stem bolts all across the galaxy.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. That's a great note for us to end on it this week. Thanks for joining us, listeners. If you like what you hear, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at EISTPod for updates and to get notified when new episodes of both Enterprising Individuals and Discoverage are released. You can tweet to us on the show using the hashtag Discoverage or email us at eistpod@gmail.com. And if you like the show, tell a friend. Discoverage will return on November 19th for the 6th episode of Season 3 of Star Trek Discovery. That episode is entitled Scavengers, and I just lost my place in my notes, which will actually, it will feature the return of David Ayala. Just a week late, he's back as Book, and it's going to have a head blow-up prison, it looks like, so that's fun. We'll be here next Thursday to cover it. We'll be going live once again at 7 p.m. Central, so join us then. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook at EISTPod to get notified when we're going live and we're broadcasting. In the meantime, you can check out our main show, Enterprising Individuals, at enterprisingindividuals.com. Every Wednesday on the show, I and a special guest discuss in excruciating detail a selected episode from a Star Trek series. We also have news from the Trek sphere and interviews with special guests. Our latest episode just dropped, and on it, I'm joined by Josh Zelikovitz. Josh is one of the hosts of the podcast Star Trek and the Jews, a show that explores representations of Jews and Judaism in Star Trek. Did you know that the Klingon Day of Honor was designed specifically as an analog of the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur? You would know that and a lot more if you were a listener of Star Trek and the Jews. They're on Twitter at @StarJews, and you can hear that episode at enterprisingindividuals.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Ella, thanks as always for joining me to talk about tonight's episode of Star Trek Discovery. Remind people where they can find you online.
Thank you. My main podcast is called Generations Geek, so you can find us at Generations Geek on all social media and wherever you listen to podcasts. And my personal account is at Gondorgold everywhere.
Fantastic. And Mika, always great to have you. Thanks for being on the show. Where can people find you online?
Thanks for having me. Yeah. So you can find me at justenoughtrope.com. And Sailor Noob is on all the wow, I can't talk. It's on Facebook at Sailor Noob, and on Instagram and Twitter at noob_sailor. And we just joined Tumblr, and we're at Sailor Noob 2 because somebody else had Sailor Noob, I guess.
Darn it. How many Sailor Noobs can you have?
I know. And then I'm at Mikan Hana on Twitter.
Awesome. And that is it for us. Thanks for listening. We're signing off. This is Aaron for Ella and Mika saying, live long and prosper.